So you join me inside the Cayenne, put it into drive, and let's head off. It's mostly apparent straight away. You can feel the torque of this car, a very powerful car indeed. It's got just that instant torque, even just moving off the line. Hear a little bit of that diesel rattle coming through. Obviously the audio's off at the moment just because of any copyright music. Like all SUVs of this size, I quite like the fact you're sitting up high, got a nice driving position, nice view out front, got that Porsche badge staring at you in the face. Put the foot down, throws you back in the seat. Pretty impressive actually, bit of smell in my face this morning. Let's go down this country road down the side here. Brakes are pretty sharp, pretty linear and responsive. Very flat handling, especially in comparison to my RX. Obviously that was 15 years old, it was a bit of a roly-poly ride. Put the foot down, and that's already doing the speed limit, which is pretty impressive. Quite like the fact you've got the little map on the instrument dial pod, kind of showing you the kind of direction of travel where you're going, what's coming up. I'm always a fan of having the sat-nav kind of map on a car, and I quite like the fact you can just look down and it's there. And this is obviously the last generation from the current one with the digital dash, so that's pretty impressive. Even in these 21-inch wheels, the car's riding pretty well. I think it's probably thanks down to the air suspension. It's riding pretty smooth. I just putting the foot down, just having that torque there, it's pretty good. Definitely putting a smile on my face. It's very, very responsive, this car. You can see why people are Porsche fanatics or Porsche fanatics. You can just trundle along this B road at 55 miles per hour. Got a little Q3 behind me, which is funny to see. It's quite low down, quite small, but it's right up behind me, which is less than desired. Maybe you guys can see me in the background there, the Stirling Castle, which is also pretty nice scenery. Not every city has that, but I quite admire when you come up to Stirling, you get to see Stirling Castle. I can see this car being an ideal daily car if you can afford it. And obviously with a Porsche you're going to have quite high running costs. This car is in the highest tax bracket, which is I think £560 for a VAT or road tax in the UK at the moment, which is less than ideal, but all these kind of big SUVs are. Most people are probably going to be shopping or looking for the 3-litre diesel that's in the Touareg, the Cayenne and the Q7, but honestly the V8 in this is just something special. Put the foot down and it just goes. I like how kind of direct the steering is, and although it doesn't feel like a 911, which maybe was the point of this because they're very flat and very driver focused, it's one of the best handling SUVs I've driven in comparison to something like a Range Rover I've driven maybe about a month ago. That was very good visibility, almost a lot of greenhouse you can see, and you can place the car because it's quite boxy, you can see the bonnet, whereas in this car it slopes down at the front, but kind of slightly different cars. It's more a serious off-roader. This can go off-road, there's plenty of YouTube videos of people off-roading Cayennes, but honestly this is a really great driving car. So now at a junction we're going to pull out and test this on almost 0 to 60 if we can. Whoa. New RS6 just went past there. Probably missed it in the camera, but yeah, that's cool. But yeah, that's pretty impressive. Just setting the cruise control there, touch that button in, push it back. We can set at 55 all the way up to Stirling Castle now. But yeah, that was pretty impressive. Let's put a bit more down. Outward visibility is good, A-pillars aren't bad. C-pillars are a little bit thick back there. But I guess you could probably get blind spot monitoring if you wanted, or just check your weather's extra careful if you're obviously overtaking. But yeah, that's probably the only thing I would say about this car is the C-pillars looking back. B-pillars are totally fine, wing mirrors are a good size, even though they're kind of halved round, they're not squared off in most SUVs, they're still pretty decent. I've got heated seat on full blast and I'm telling you that's so nice, the seats are so well padded, comfortable. sitting in them, and that's just such a nice heat coming on me. It's so nice. Yes, I like that. If I turn the camera around, hopefully you guys can see Stirling Castle up in the left there. So hopefully you guys have enjoyed this video. If you're looking at a Cayenne S, there really isn't too much on the market like it. Maybe an X5 and X6 40D with the kind of a little bit more power output, maybe an M50D. Mercedes-Benz offer a higher output GLE, which kind of would compete with this. Range Rover Sport, they do a V8, which is probably direct competitor to this at the moment. Nobody's doing diesel, so if you're wanting a brand new one of these, you're going to have to get a hybrid for the kind of power output. Just diesels and V8s just don't seem to be a common thing. But as if you can get this power output in a couple of products, probably direct competitors Range Rover Sport. I quite like the layout of the Porsche. I think both brands have got strong kind of fan following, and if you're in Britain, it's almost sacrilege even to be a fan of anything other than a Land Rover Range Rover. But if you want a driving dynamics, maybe a car that's a little bit more reliable than a Range Rover. And people who've had this, and the previous owners of this car's actually had Land Rover Discoveries, which even when they were from new have had issues, so she's had no issues with this at all over the time of ownership of this Cayenne S. And that's pretty something. Just these little niggly things. If you're a luxury car buyer, you're not wanting to run to a dealership every couple of months. If anybody's seen the Fastlane car, their new Defender, I think that's 200 miles, and maybe that car's done and it's been in the garage. It's something like 10 days within the 14 days of ownership. If you check out their channel, if you want to see something about reliability. But yeah, if you want something a bit more reliable than that British brand, Porsche is definitely the way to go. Definitely it's a lot bit more premium, especially inside with the build materials, than something like an Audi Q7, Mercedes GLE, BMW X5. I've driven the GLE and X5, and this drives a lot more dynamically engaging. I've not drove an X5M or anything like that, so if you've got one of them, let me know. But yeah, I really like the V8 power in this, the space. All these cars give you practical space, but if you want a practical Porsche, this is the one for you. It's up high. Negatives for the car, with the high running costs, the road tax, parts if something goes wrong. But if you keep the car well maintained, don't see that being an issue. So I just want to say thanks very much for watching. Hopefully you guys enjoyed this video on the Porsche Cayenne S. If you like this video, please give me a thumbs up, subscribe to the channel below, and I'll see you in the next video. Ciao!